Talk Nation, man. Welcome back, everybody. Man, your boy has been gone for a minute. Been working like a daggone slave, man. It seemed like for the last, 2 months, man, been a lot going on. I'm taking care of my responsibilities, man, working, doing what I got to do, trying to stick to the battle plan. Like I said, man, it's a lot going on, but I have been putting out content, but my eye has still been on the game. I still have been watching what has been going on and transpiring in the sport of boxing. There's a lot going on, man. You know what I'm saying? 2022 is still going to be super explosive to a lot of fighters. But today, right at this moment, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. and Mark Magsayo, you know what I mean? Protege of Manny Pacquiao. Shout out to MP Promotions. Manny is doing his thing, you know what I mean? You just seen what Isaac Cruz did. He's also under that Manny Pacquiao banner. This is a very interesting fight because Gary Russell Jr., the WBC title, is on the line. And Mark Magsayo, he is dangerous. You know what I mean? You've seen his last fight, which to a degree he was losing, but we seen what he came back and did, got the knockout of the year. Look, this is a dangerous fight for Mr. Gary Russell Jr. But just like Gary Russell said when he was talking about Tank Davis, look, you can throw whatever you want, but if those shots don't land, it's wasted energy. I get that. But Mark, he does throw a lot of shots, but he's also accurate. And being as though he's kind of unorthodox in some ways on how he throws his shots, that's what makes him dangerous, because he's the bigger guy as far as height and reach coming into this fight with Gary Russell. Gary Russell Jr. is a phenomenal boxer. He does have a pretty good inside game, but if Mark Magsayo put his foot on the gas early and presses Gary Russell, it's a good chance that Gary Russell Jr. is going to get caught. And Mark Magsayo, he has power and he has pop. So if he gets Gary Russell Jr. in trouble early, he could possibly stop and knock out Gary Russell Jr. But if Gary Russell Jr. comes into this fight with that dog mentality, which we all know that he has, but at the same time, he's the older competitor. And the fact that he hasn't been active in the sport of boxing like that, you know what I mean? Shout out to, I believe his last fight, I was watching when he fought Nambayar. Name might have been messed up a little bit, but y'all know who I'm talking about. I mean, he gave, in some ways, Gary Russell some problems in that fight. Gary Russell didn't look good, and it can be a repeat of that with Mark Magsayo. But Mark, he has better power. So if he catches Gary Russell with some of the shots that Nambayar caught Mr. Gary Russell Jr. with, he can hurt him. He can hurt him and possibly get him up out of there. Now, coming into this fight, Gary Russell is going to have to utilize his boxing ability from the jump. He can't get into a shootout with Mark Magsayo. He can't do it. If he does, he's going to get in trouble and get hurt early. Now, Mark Magsayo, knowing that Gary Russell Jr. is a better boxer, he's going to have to be patient. He's going to have to get off his offense, but at the same time, be defensively sound and smart. Don't take too many chances, because although Gary Russell Jr. is a smaller competitor, he does have some power because he's fast. He's the older guy, but he still does have speed. Now, Mark, knowing that he comes from the camp of none other than possibly future president of the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, we all know Manny Pacquiao has power and he has speed. And the speed, as they say, equates to power. Now, Mark might not be as fast as Pacquiao, but he has that raw speed. He has that raw power, and he has young power. So if he catches Gary Russell Jr. square with a shot, like I said, he can hurt him. But if he comes into this fight smart, utilizes his jab, set Gary Russell up, turn him, try to get off those shots, you know what I mean? Try to get off that straight right hand at an angle. Or if he does happen to get on the inside with Gary Russell, you know what I'm saying? Maul him a little bit, you know what I mean? Try to get that inside uppercut, turn him, get away, because like I said, Gary Russell Jr., he's a smaller guy. You don't want to get into a dogfight with Gary Russell, especially on the inside when he's a smaller guy. He's going to catch you with some shots to the body, and I know he's going to land some of those uppercuts, which could be dangerous for Mark Magsayo. But like I said, if he's patient, but at the same time explosive in spots, and he can disrupt Gary Russell Jr., he can upset him and become a WBC, champion. And that will be super explosive, super explosive. That will shake up the division if Mark Magsayo is able to become a WBC champion. Now, just like people were supposedly ducking Gary Russell Jr., guess what? They're going to step up and they're going to try to fight Mark Magsayo because, like I said, he's raw. He's still being refined. He's still being polished as a fighter, but he has that heart. He has that will. He has that tenacity. You know what I mean? And those are the qualities that Manny Pacquiao brought him into the stable because of. Manny Pacquiao looks for certain things in a fighter. You know what I mean? He likes, first of all, tough guys that can fight, but their mind and their spirit has to be on a certain wavelength. You know what I mean? For Manny Pacquiao to bring you in. So you know these guys are going to step up and fight. You know what I mean? Because they're not only representing themselves, they're representing MP Promotions, and most importantly, they represent the Philippines, man. Shout out to all my Filipinos, you know what I'm saying? I have a very good, fan base in the Philippines. A lot of you guys out there, like and support the content, and I appreciate it. Y'all already know, and this has nothing to do with it, but Manny Pacquiao, man, pound for pound, hands down, my favorite fighter, man. I just put up a post, as far as the community, and it had a nice lengthy list, and it had Floyd Mayweather as the GOAT, and it had a whole slew of other fighters, you know what I mean, in different brackets. And I told you guys, true or false, do you guys agree with this list? So go back, check out the channel. If not, if you don't subscribe, check out the channel, check out that post, and you can see for yourself. And leave a thumbs up if you like it, and also leave your comments on who you think is let's just say is the greatest fighter of all times. If you think it's Floyd, put Floyd. If you think it's Manny, put Manny. If you think it's Mike, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Hands of Stone, whomever, you know what I mean? Put your thoughts, you know what I mean? Leave it in the comments. But this is going to be a great fight, you know what I mean? Shout out to also Jaron Boots looked like he put on a little bit of weight, you know what I mean, coming into 2022. He looked a little bit heavier than I've seen him so far. But Jaron Boots is also getting older, you know what I mean? So he's starting to get possibly, that mass strength is starting to come, so that weight could just be natural. So he already said, you know what, in the future, once he clears out the welterweight division, he's possibly going to move up because he has that frame. So we could possibly be getting a glimpse at Jaron Boots, possibly, who knows, at 54. Because he already said, you know what, this is going to be a super explosive year in 2022. This is going to be my year. I'm going to put my stamp on the division. These guys already know what it is. They don't want to give me a shot, but you know what? You can't keep dodging. Eventually, Jaron Boots is going to get in a position, and he's going to be fighting for a title. And once he gets a title, I told you guys, this is going to be over. It's going to be over. If you hold a belt in the division, either you're going to vacate or you're going to have to fight him. So, depending upon what Errol Spence does with Yordenis UGAS, and that's not going to be an easy fight at all. Spence, he could possibly get upset by Yordenis UGAS. I don't know if you guys know this because we got a lot of Errol Spence fans, especially out Texas, which I totally agree and I understand. But you have to look at Yordenis UGAS. This guy has been upsetting guys since the last couple, like Sean Porter, arguably, he beat Sean Porter. I thought he did, personally. The Manny Pacquiao fight, honestly, in my opinion, whether it's true or not, but I'm going to keep it 100 because y'all already know over here, we don't get paid, you know what I mean, to say what people want us to say. We don't get paid at all. This is real talk for a reason. We keep it 100. I think Manny got set up, you know what I'm saying? Because Yordenis UGAS, it looked like he was training for Manny Pacquiao. But all the while, Manny Pacquiao was training for Errol Spence. I'm talking about mind, body, and spirit. Manny Pacquiao was focused and tuned and locked in on facing Errol the Truth Spence Jr. And Manny, being a professional that he is, the consummate professional, he doesn't complain. Manny don't be bitching, and he don't be doing none of that. That's why I salute and I love Manny. He took the fight, and he knew that he wasn't prepared for Yordenis UGAS. But in some ways, Yordenis UGAS possesses some of the same weapons that Errol Spence possesses. He had a great jab, a solid jab, and he caught Manny with that jab all night. Manny was training to go the opposite way because Spence is a southpaw, but yet he was running into UGAS' jab, you know what I mean? Because he wasn't conditioned and trained to get out the way of it. As experienced as Manny Pacquiao is, there's still a reason why fighters train for a particular opponent, especially if that opponent is dangerous. Errol Spence is dangerous. So everything that Manny Pacquiao was working on for Errol Spence, it went out the window when he had to fight Yordenis UGAS. So in some ways, I believe that he got set up for that fight. But you know what? Shout out and salute to Yordenis UGAS, you know what I'm saying? By becoming the rightful WBA champion, you know what I'm saying? He put on for his country. Shout out to Cuba. Shout out to all my Cubanos. I like Yordenis UGAS, you know what I'm saying? He's a great champion, great fighter. More importantly, great story, you know what I mean? Just like Manny Pacquiao. See, you guys have to understand, fighters are, especially if he's your favorite fighter, or just a phenomenal fighter in general. But I like to look at a fighter's background opposed or apart from their pedigree, where they came from, what they do for their people, their community. And these guys are doing some phenomenal things. So that is what constitutes a GOAT, in my opinion. It goes beyond what you do in the ring. It goes beyond that. Every fighter that laces up a pair of boxing gloves, in my opinion, gets my respect, because you can lose your life in that ring. Just like you can lose your life walking down the street doing nothing. I'm from Philly. Everybody know. If y'all didn't, now you know. Right now, man, Philly is on fire. People, the murder rate is ridiculous, especially coming into the new year. You know what I mean? Right now, people carjacking people left and right. You would think Philadelphia was Cali, you know what I mean? The way people was trying to jack people left and right. But these people, the carjackers lately have been the one getting popped, you know what I'm saying? So they running around trying to jack people, but now people riding around strapped, and people got legal weapons, you know what I mean? So when they see somebody running up on the whip trying to jack them, these dudes, people is letting off. And then the carjackers are the ones getting popped. But you know what? That's what it is. Shout out to the city, you know what I mean? The city is always in my prayers, man, you know what I mean? Because the city been on fire. And it's sad coming into the new year that the city is still on fire. It's a record number of young people, teenagers, you know what I'm saying, being murdered, a record number of females, you know what I'm saying, being murdered, you know what I mean, kids being hit, struck by gunfire, straight bullets. So Philly is on fire right now, man. That's why fighters like Jaron Boots Ennis, you know what I mean, Cool Boy Steph Fulton, all the fighters, you know what I'm saying, Tevin Farmer, you know what I mean, all these guys and all these fighters in Philadelphia, man, that's why it's so important as far as their role, not only in the city, but also in boxing, you know what I'm saying? So they can bring light to the situations going on in the city, because they're fighting for more than just titles and accolades and legacy. They're trying to show these kids coming up in the city, you know what, you ain't got to pick up a gun, pick up some boxing gloves, you know what I mean? And coming up, that was one of the things that the old heads taught me, man. Before you pick up anything, you got to know how to fight. You got to know how to pick up your hands. You know what I'm saying? Before you pick up a knife or before you pick up a gun, you got to know how to fight. That's a man. And if somebody takes it to another level after that, then you do what you got to do to defend yourself or your family or whatever, to whatever degree. But the first thing you have to do and know how to do to defend yourself is put your hands up. And I never forgot that. That's why the knuckle game got crazy. You know what I mean? Shout out to Shula's, 43rd of Brooklyn. Shout out to former Johannes Boxing, which they tore down, which is a travesty to build, you know what I mean? Like some $400,000 row homes, you know what I'm saying, in North Philly. But you know what, man? Shout out to the whole city. Shout out to Philly Boxing, Bozzy, ENNIS, everybody that's still putting on for the city, that's still trying to lead the way. Bernard Hopkins, you know what I'm saying? The Guns Down, Gloves Up initiatives, you know what I mean? Just trying to put on and do things for the right way and show kids the right way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Coming up, you ain't always got to pick up a gun, pick up some gloves, more importantly, put up your hands. But you know what I'm saying? Let's wrap this up real quick. Mark Magsayo, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., WBC title. It's going down, man, this weekend. It's going to be a great night, great weekend of boxing. And don't be surprised if Mark Magsayo gets his hand raised by a knockout or a stoppage. Now, if Gary Russell can pull out this win, that'd be phenomenal. That'll kind of reinvigorate Gary Russell's career, you know what I mean? But the question is he going to sit on the shelf for the rest of the year? Because he's literally been fighting once a year, if that, you know what I mean? So if he's able to pull out this win, who will he face next? You know what I mean? Will he finally get that Gervonta Tank Davis fight? Who knows? Talk Nation, stand up as your boy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Support your boy, support the channel out. I don't ask y'all for no money. Just, you know what I'm saying, get a video a thumbs up. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoy it. Stay blessed, stay humble, stay motivated, protect yourself at all times, guard up and mask up. Why? Because it's a war going on outside and ain't nobody safe from it. Talk Nation, stand up as your boy. Peace. Blessings, y'all.